reality is that a man can love for 10 years, he can be celibate all that time, but the one he loves may go off and choose someone else against the Lord's house. That, of course, is her free will making a choice. Or did she try to pick up the pieces for where a friend who passed left off? It's hard to say, but the Lord Himself has continued to speak about her in my soul every single day. You see, she's the one who taught me the pendulum. It immediately moved for me, which meant the God in heaven authorized me the access to my angels to have that pendulum move for me. In the 2 or 3 paltry little questions I asked the Lord about the woman who was standing in my classroom, leaning against my whiteboard area, and openly watching me ask those questions. I guarantee in her soul she knew what the questions were, even though I didn't utter them aloud. And openly, I want to know, who was the woman in the alleyway 2 years ago at Christmas time, when it was freezing cold and I had 7 layers on, struggling to pull my pants off after peeing in a way that, well, men do in the middle of the morning at 3 o'clock in the morning. But openly, I also want to know who was in McDonald's, who came in looking so gorgeous, and who was the one that flit by me and God said, "Don't handle it now, go outside and wait for her to come out." And then she did what? She ran across the street and danced around in a place that I had been sleeping like I'm being mocked? Who was that, please? Who's the one that was standing over me a couple weeks ago, when as I came to a little bit in the middle of the night and thought I saw the vision of loveliness standing there? And I kind of jolted myself a little bit and I reopened my eyes and she was gone. You see, either people are learning how to project their visions into someone's life or God is taking care of me. But the only thing that's been healing my soul in the longest of time is some music by a famous person. And I'm sort of surprised by that because I'm not one of those guys who can handle listening to music anymore. You see, every country western song reminds me of the girl that I love. So long ago, probably in 2013, 2014, when I lost her, I stopped listening to that kind of music. Just couldn't do it anymore. Which is unusual because I'm a guy who likes to do that. Now, I did listen to my Celtic Wedding CD, and I'd like to know where that is. I would like to know where my other CDs and my other pieces of equipment are that belong to me. But what I really want to know is who is coming into my apartment in Noblesville when I moved away from my townhome in Carmel and got into my bedroom and started to clip and cut the bracelets that I wore on my arm. You see, the level of abuse that I've endured through this process is pretty incredible. Who is moving things around on my counter in my bathroom? Who is taking tubs of my property and then returning them? Who got into my photographs that my wife lovingly put in albums for us as a family and changed them out with family photos of older siblings and their children, things I didn't even know we had? Who took my childhood photographs out of my trunks? Who got into my possessions? Where's my Bruce Lee action figure? Where's my Jackie Chan? Where are the interesting animals that are martial artists that I had set aside and was about to sell before all this shit happened to my life? You see, I'd put all these things aside for young children at the time, but it took maybe 6 months ago for me to recognize that the children I was expecting to be a part of my life have gotten full grown. And maybe that was the Lord's plan, but I don't think so, because God speaks to me every day about the woman I love. And the reason He does that is because I practice the faith. And my faith fob practice has been with me since the very day, practically, that the woman I love showed to me. I also shared that faith practice with a healing woman who came into my life after I lost the girl I love and came in on the same type of deep, profound prayer. And I prayed a very specific prayer, probably one of the deepest I had prayed in a long time. And since then, I've had struggle praying. It's true, I prayed every day for 3 years for the woman I love, despite having a couple-month romance with a woman who just worked to heal me. She just seemed to know when I needed a hug, but then even she, in learning the pendulum, flaked out, got tainted by people around her, got tainted by probably Maria Penzano, and openly, that's not our fault. You see, people have the right to contract anyone for services, but she also played in the shadows, not all. She played in the divisions of our relationship, in the professional aspect of what she paid me for versus the personal aspect of the friendship that was evolving. And the very few times that I went to find her, it was amazing how God would put me right in front of her on the road. And I hadn't anticipated that because God is driving me through a countryside that I don't know. You see, a pendulum is an amazing tool when you access your angels with the authorization of the Lord's Most High House. But I have these gifts, I have these skills now, and I have submitted all my life to the Lord. And isn't that what my mother, my late mother, the evangelist, the Methodist of my house, encouraged her children, all of her children, to do? Was to find a love of God like she did. Because in the difficult times with my paternal father, my late father, she always clung to her faith. And I do that today in honor of my mother and father. My father, up until the point that I said, "No more driving, Dad," and that was me who did that because none of my siblings would do it, they're lazy asses, because he clipped the car and said, "That's it, Dad, give me the keys. We're done. Mom's driving now on." But he had Parkinson's PSP. But even my dad, up to the time that he couldn't drive anymore, was driving people Meals on Wheels, serving in his community, helping to build a beautiful monument in our community. He got the Rangeline